By the time Blackthorn Keep appeared through the storm clouds, I had decided 3 things. 1. Mountains were dramatic for no reason. 2. Kenneth's ancestors had never once considered building something warm, normal, or remotely welcoming. And 3. If the baby kicked my bladder one more time, I was going to become the first pregnant woman in history to commit treason in a luxury SUV. The castle rose out of the mountain like it had been carved from a thread. Black stone, razor towers, narrow windows burning with gold light. Bridges arched over impossible drops, and pine trees clung to the cliffs beneath it like they were afraid to fall. Mist curled around the lower walls, thick and silver under the moon, making the whole place look less like a home and more like the final destination in a movie where everybody ignored the obvious signs and died anyway. I stared out the window. "This is where you grew up?" Kenneth sat across from me, one long leg crossed over the other, looking infuriatingly calm for a man bringing his pregnant human fiancée to Dracula's mountain vacation property. His dark suit didn't have a wrinkle. His jaw looked sharp enough to cut the tension inside the car. His icy blue eyes flicked from the castle to me. Yes. I waited. That was it. Of course that was it. "No follow-up?" I asked. "No fond childhood memories? No, Liorah, don't worry? The gargoyles only bite during tax season?" Kenneth's mouth twitched. Barely. The kind of almost smile that would have been invisible if I hadn't spent the last few months learning the annoying details of his face against my will. "There are no gargoyles." That's exactly what someone with gargoyles would say. Marcus coughed from the front passenger seat. Kenneth's eyes slid to the back of his headrest. "Something to add?" "No, Your Majesty." Liar. I shifted in the seat, trying to find a position where my back didn't hurt. My hips didn't complain, and the tiny supernatural tenant inside me stopped using my organs as a rehearsal space. No luck. The baby rolled. I pressed a hand to my stomach and breathed through it. Kenneth noticed immediately. Because of course he did. The man could probably hear a leaf get anxious from 3 miles away. "Pain?" he asked. "Movement." His entire body changed. Not much. Not enough for anyone else to see. But I saw it. The hard line of his shoulders tightened. His gaze dropped to my stomach, and something fierce and helpless crossed his face before he locked it away. He did that a lot now. Tried to hide the fear under control. Tried to hide the control under concern. Tried to hide the concern under being the most irritatingly composed man alive. "I'm fine," I said before he could start barking orders at the baby. Kenneth's gaze lifted to mine. "You say that often when you are not. And you say, for your safety, often when you mean, because I said so. Look at us, both growing." Marcus made another suspicious sound. The driver wisely pretended to be deaf. Outside, the road curved sharply up the mountain. Snow clung to the edges of the rocks, though it wasn't winter yet. Blackthorn Land apparently didn't care about calendars. The higher we climbed, the more my ears popped, the colder the glass looked, and the stronger the scent of pine became. Usually I liked pine. Today it smelled like grief, which was unfair. Pine hadn't done anything to me. But grief didn't care about fairness. It crawled into whatever space it wanted. It sat beside you in cars. It touched your stomach when no one was looking. It whispered names you weren't ready to say out loud. Tyrell would have hated this road. He got carsick on winding drives. He would have complained loudly, dramatically, and then pretended he was fine, because he never liked looking weak. He would have made some stupid joke about Kenneth owning a villain castle. I would have laughed even though I was mad at him. Then I would have been mad at myself for laughing. But Tyrell wasn't here. He was beneath the earth now. And I was carrying a baby that belonged to the living, the dead, the impossible. My throat tightened. I turned my face toward the window before Kenneth could see too much. The castle gates opened before we reached them. No guards touched them. No mechanism groaned. The iron simply split down the middle, ancient and silent, as if the mountain itself had exhaled. "Well, that's not creepy," I muttered. Kenneth leaned forward slightly. "The keep recognizes bloodlines." My bloodline is from New York and stubborn women who season their food. Your gait better relax. The child carries blackthorn magic. I looked at him. Kenneth's jaw flexed. The vehicle stopped. Before anyone opened my door, every wolf in the courtyard lowered to one knee. All at once. A single silent wave of bodies dropping beneath the moon. Heads bowed. Hands over hearts. The sound was soft but enormous. Fabric shifting, knees touching stone, breath catching, power bending. The baby went still inside me. I did too. For one terrible second, all I heard was my own heartbeat. Then another rhythm seemed to move through the courtyard. Not sound exactly, more like pressure. A pulse under the stone. A recognition that started at the gates, passed through the wolves, and climbed straight into my bones. The castle knew. They knew. Not me. Her. Him. The baby. Whatever this child was becoming inside me. My mouth went dry. Kenneth stepped out first. The cold wind moved around him like it had asked permission. He circled the SUV and opened my door himself before any guard could get close. I stared at his hand, then at the kneeling wolves, then back at him. You knew they were going to do this. His face was unreadable. I expected a formal reception. A formal reception is flowers, Kenneth. Maybe a fruit basket. Not an entire courtyard bowing like my uterus declared independence. Marcus suddenly found the mountains fascinating. Kenneth held out his hand. They are honoring you. They're honoring my stomach. They are honoring both. That is not helping. His gaze softened, but his voice stayed low. Liorah. I hated the way my name sounded in his mouth when he was trying not to command me, like he was holding a blade by the edge. I hated that it worked sometimes. I took his hand. The moment my feet touched the courtyard stones, the torches flared. Blue fire leapt high into the night. Every kneeling wolf lowered their head farther. Nope, I said immediately. Kenneth's hand tightened around mine. I looked up at him. Nope. One of the older wolves at the front of the courtyard lifted her face. She had long gray hair braided down her back, a black gown buttoned to her throat, and eyes the color of storm clouds. Welcome home, Queen Liorah, she said. A few glanced at my stomach. I pointed at one man near the steps. You. Eyes up here. His head snapped up so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. Kenneth's stare cut across the courtyard. No one will stare at her body. The temperature seemed to drop. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Alpha, the courtyard answered. My eyebrows lifted. Wow. Useful. Can you use that voice to make the baby stop using my ribs as a punching bag? Kenneth turned to me, concern already back. Is the baby hurting you? It was a joke. Your jokes often conceal distress. My jokes often conceal me trying not to scream at people. He considered that, then nodded once like he was filing it away under very important human mate information. I sighed. The older woman stepped forward again. I am Elspeth Vale, mistress of the keep. Your rooms have been prepared. The east wing has been secured. The household staff has been briefed on your dietary restrictions, medical needs, emotional sensitivities, and... My what? Elspeth stopped. Kenneth went very still beside me. I turned slowly toward him. My emotional sensitivities? His expression did not change, which meant he knew he was in trouble. Back in the penthouse, I had complained about the raw meat, the smells, the oat milk, the constant crowding, the way werewolves treated privacy like a decorative suggestion. He had listened and built a whole list out of it. A controlling, high-handed, deeply invasive list. But still. I crossed my arms over my stomach. You forgot not to let anyone bow at the baby like it's giving royal decrees through my belly button. A muscle jumped in his cheek. Elspeth lowered her gaze again. Apologies, my lady. The household was not prepared for the strength of the child's presence. There it was again. The child's presence. I felt my temper spark. The baby shifted as if in answer. I breathed in through my nose. My back hurt. My feet were swelling. My chest felt too full, like grief and fear and hormones had formed a committee and elected violence. I had been in a car for too long. My bra was personally betraying me, and every wolf in this courtyard looked like they wanted to either worship me or lock me in a tower until the baby arrived. I looked at Kenneth. Kenneth, if one more wolf bows at my uterus, I'm going to start charging admission. Silence. Then Marcus made a sound that was definitely not a cough. Kenneth's mouth twitched again. Elspeth looked horrified. Excellent. Maybe if I kept saying uterus, they'd all stop acting like I was a sacred vase. Kenneth turned to the gathered wolves. Lady Liorah is tired from travel. There will be no more ceremony tonight. A ripple moved through the courtyard. But, Your Majesty, said a man near the front, the inner families have gathered to offer... Kenneth looked at him. The man closed his mouth. Smart wolf. Kenneth's hand came to the small of my back, warm and steady through my coat. Inside. I wanted to argue just because he had said it like that. But then the wind cut through the courtyard, and the baby pressed down on my bladder again, and pride became less important than plumbing. Fine, I said. But if your castle doesn't have oat milk, I'm burning a curtain. It has oat milk. You sound very confident. I ordered 6 brands. I stopped walking. He stopped too. I looked up at him. 6? Yes. Different brands? Yes. Unsweetened? Yes. Vanilla? Yes. Barista blend? Kenneth's eyes flicked briefly to Marcus. Marcus answered, 12 cartons. I stared at them both. Hormones were terrible because for 1 second I almost cried. Over oat milk. I hated everyone. I pointed at Kenneth. This does not mean you're forgiven for the emotional sensitivities memo. I understand. No, you don't. No, he agreed. But I am attempting to. That shut me up, which was rude of him. The entrance doors opened as we approached, towering slabs of carved black wood inlaid with silver wolves. Warm air rolled out, carrying the scents of firewood, beeswax, old stone, roasted meat, and something sweet underneath. I stepped inside Blackthorn Keep, and the castle seemed to inhale. The walls trembled. Not enough for anyone else to panic. Just enough for me to feel it through the soles of my shoes. The chandeliers overhead flickered with blue flame. Tapestries stirred, though there was no breeze. Somewhere deep in the keep, a low sound moved through the stone. Not quite a growl, not quite a welcome. My hand flew to my stomach. The baby fluttered. Kenneth noticed. What is it? I don't know. His gaze sharpened at once. Pain? No. I looked around the vast entrance hall. Your house just reacted. Elspeth bowed her head. The keep has waited many generations for the anchor. My stomach twisted. I'm going to need everyone to stop saying things like that before I start charging rent. Elspeth blinked. Kenneth's hand remained at my back, but he didn't push me forward. Enough prophecy for tonight. His tone made it clear that prophecy, like everyone else, was expected to obey him. The entrance hall was ridiculous. There was no other word for it. Ridiculous. The ceiling stretched high enough to have its own weather. Black marble floors shone beneath my boots. Twin staircases curved up on either side of the room, lined with carved wolves whose silver eyes seemed to follow us. Fireplaces large enough to park cars inside burned along the walls. Above the main archway hung the blackthorn crest, a crowned wolf standing over a crescent moon. Its teeth bared like hospitality was optional. Servants stood in 2 lines. They did not kneel, but several looked like it was physically painful not to. I gave them all my best don't try me smile. One young woman immediately looked at the floor. That one's smart, I murmured. Kenneth heard me. Mara is newly assigned. To what? His nostrils flared. Every enemy we have left will come for you if they think there is even a chance of reaching the child. And every time you say that, what I hear is that my life belongs to a threat now. His face changed. I hated that too. I hated hurting him when part of me knew he was just trying to keep the nightmare from happening again. But love that looked like a locked door was still a locked door. I stepped closer so I didn't have to raise my voice. I am tired, I said. I am hungry. I am grieving. I am pregnant with a baby who apparently makes architecture emotional. And I am scared, Kenneth. I am scared all the time. His eyes softened. I kept going before that softness undid me. But I cannot live in a castle where everybody treats me like a sacred container. I am not the anchor. I am not just the mother. I am not a problem you can secure until it stops moving. His jaw clenched. I know that. Do you? The words were barely above a whisper. They hurt more because of it. Kenneth looked at me for a long moment. Then he turned to the hall. Leave us. No one moved. Not because they disobeyed. Because they were stunned. Kenneth's eyes flashed wolf bright. Now. The hall emptied fast. Servants vanished through side doors. Guards retreated. Elspeth bowed and disappeared with the others. Marcus hesitated only long enough to look at me, his expression careful but kind. Then he left too. The doors closed. The great entrance hall swallowed the silence. I stood there with my coat still on, one hand on my stomach, suddenly aware of how big the castle was, and how small my body felt inside it. Kenneth faced me. Not the king. Not the Alpha. Just Kenneth. I do not know how to do this gently, he said. That was not what I expected. My anger faltered. He looked around the hall, his expression shadowed. This place was built for war. My bloodline survived by anticipating betrayal before it entered the room. I was taught that protection meant distance, walls, guards, control. No kidding. His mouth twitched, but the humor didn't reach his eyes. When I look at you, I see everything that can be taken from me. My chest tightened. Kenneth stepped closer but stopped before touching me, like he remembered, like he was learning. When I look at the child, I see a future my enemies would rather destroy than allow to breathe. The baby moved under my hand. His gaze dropped, then lifted again. So yes, he said quietly, I secured the east wing. I assigned guards. I stocked the kitchens and locked down the old tunnels and had every stone in this castle searched before you arrived. I did all of it because the alternative is standing over another grave. Terrell's name went unspoken. It didn't have to be said. It was there, between us, beneath us, in the silence. My eyes burned. I looked away first. That's not fair, I whispered. No, Kenneth said. It is not. I laughed once, but it came out broken. You're supposed to argue. I am trying something different. Terrible timing. I had a whole speech ready. I would still like to hear it. Of course you would. You enjoy suffering. With you, I am becoming familiar with it. I looked back at him. There he was, still impossible, still controlling, still too intense for normal rooms and human conversations, but trying. And that was the part that kept getting under my skin. Not the crown, not the power, not the claim, the trying. I wiped under one eye quickly before a tear could make a full dramatic appearance. I need privacy. You will have it. Actual privacy. Not fake privacy where a wolf named Bartholomew listens outside my bathroom in case a shampoo bottle attacks. There is no Bartholomew assigned to your bathroom. That better not mean there's a Stephanie. His brows drew together. There is no Stephanie. Good. A pause. There is a Bram, he said. I closed my eyes. Kenneth. For the outer corridor only. I cannot believe I have to say this, but I do not want a bathroom wolf. Bram is not a bathroom wolf. He became one the moment you said outer corridor. Kenneth dragged a hand over his jaw. It was the first truly human thing he had done since we arrived. I hated how much I liked it. Fine, he said. No guard within hearing distance of the bathing rooms. Or the bedroom. His eyes sharpened. The bedroom must be protected. The bedroom must be mine. His silence returned. I held his stare. Finally, he nodded once. No guard directly outside the bedroom door. They will remain at the wing entrance. It was a compromise, a small one. But from Kenneth, small compromises were basically constitutional amendments. And the servants? I asked. You may dismiss them whenever you want. I may? Yes. Without them looking like I kicked a puppy. I cannot control their faces. That is the first believable thing you've said all night. His mouth curved. Actually curved. My stomach fluttered for a reason that had nothing to do with the baby. Annoying. Very annoying. I pointed at him. Don't smile at me. I'm still mad. I know. Something in me answered too, and that scared me almost as much as the courtyard had, because I was tired of being pulled toward things I didn't understand, tired of magic making decisions around my body, tired of love arriving dressed like disaster. I stepped back. Kenneth let his hand fall immediately. Food, I said, because food was safer than whatever that had been. His gaze searched my face. Of course. And oat milk. 6 brands. And a bathroom. Immediately. And no more bowing. His eyes flicked briefly toward the closed doors. I will do what I can. Kenneth. I will forbid uterus bowing. I blinked. Then laughed. It burst out of me before I could stop it. Too loud, too sudden. A little too close to crying. Kenneth watched me like my laugh was another miracle he didn't know what to do with, which honestly was his problem. Come, he said softly. Let me show you your rooms. My unlocked rooms? His expression tightened. I arched a brow. He exhaled. Your unlocked rooms. Progress. Tiny, dramatic werewolf progress. He offered his arm. I stared at it for a moment, then took it. The castle did not feel any less terrifying as we climbed the grand staircase. Wolves still watched from shadowed balconies. The walls still whispered with old power. The baby still rested heavy and strange inside me. But Kenneth slowed his steps to match mine. He did not rush me. He did not command me. And when we passed a servant who looked like she might drop to one knee, he didn't even have to speak. One glance from me, and she stayed standing. Good. Maybe Blackthorn Keep could learn. Maybe all of us could. My rooms were not rooms. They were a kingdom with throw pillows. There was a sitting room with a fireplace and velvet couches. A bedroom with a bed so large it looked like it required its own zip code. A bathing room full of black marble, gold fixtures, and a tub big enough to drown several enemies at once. Tall windows overlooked the forest, and the mountains beyond, where mist moved between the trees like secrets. A tray waited near the fire. A hard kick beneath my ribs that yanked me out of sleep with a gasp. The room was dark, except for the fire and the moonlight spilling through the windows. For one confused second, I forgot where I was. The ceiling was too high, the shadows too old, the bed too soft. Then the baby kicked again. I pressed both hands to my stomach. Okay, I'm up. Another kick, harder. Excuse you. My heart started beating faster. The baby had moved before. Little flutters, rolls, strange taps that made me stop mid-sentence and wonder if that was gas or destiny. This was different. This was strong, intentional, like the baby was knocking from the inside. I sat up slowly, breathing through the pressure. The door opened. Kenneth stood there in black sleep pants and a shirt that looked like he had thrown it on badly, which should not have been attractive under the circumstances. His hair was mussed. His eyes were already wolf-bright. What happened? I stared at him. Do you just materialize when my blood pressure changes? Your heart spiked. That is not an answer normal people give. He stepped inside, then stopped. May I? The question was quiet, still new enough between us to make my chest ache. I nodded. He crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to crowd me. The baby kicked again, and I winced. Kenneth's face tightened. Should I call the healer? No, I don't think it's bad. It's just... I blew out a breath. Strong. His gaze dropped to my stomach. I took his hand before either of us could overthink it and placed it where the baby had kicked. The effect was instant. The movement stopped. The entire room seemed to go still with it. Kenneth looked down at his hand. I looked at him. Neither of us spoke. The fire cracked softly. Outside, somewhere deep in the mountain forest, a wolf howled. The baby pressed gently beneath his palm once, then settled. Kenneth's thumb moved once over the fabric of my nightshirt. Barely there, almost reverent. I had several available. I should have made a joke. Something about favoritism. Something about him already being the strict parent. Something about the baby respecting his authority more than I ever would. But the words would not come. Because Kenneth's face had gone soft in a way that made him look less like a king and more like a man standing at the edge of something he had wanted but never believed he deserved. And because inside me, the baby was quiet for him. For us. The thought landed gently. Dangerously. Us. Kenneth lifted his eyes to mine. For once, he had no command ready. No plan. No answer. Just wonder. Just fear. Just the two of us in a castle full of wolves, with a child between our hands who already had the power to bring a kingdom to its knees. I swallowed. Well, I whispered, because silence made me nervous. Apparently the baby likes you. Kenneth's voice was rough. Apparently. Don't let it go to your head. Too late. I huffed a laugh, but it came out quiet. His hand stayed on my stomach. Mine rested over his. Neither of us moved away. And for the first time since Blackthorn Keep had bowed at my feet, the castle felt less like a cage and more like something waiting to become a home. But somewhere beyond the windows, another wolf howled. Very efficient, very upsetting. The baby kicked once beneath my ribs. I winced. Excuse me, little royal alarm system, could you not? Kenneth's head snapped toward me. Pain? Movement. Again. I rubbed the side of my stomach and took a breath. If this castle is ringing because my baby has hiccups, I'm suing your bloodline. The door opened before Kenneth could answer. Marcus came in first, half-dressed in black tactical pants, a shirt thrown on backward, and a gun in his hand. Behind him were two guards with glowing eyes and the kind of expressions that said they were seconds away from biting furniture if it looked suspicious. Elspeth is on her way, Marcus said. No breach reported. Outer wards are intact. North Tower says the old bell activated from inside the keep. Kenneth's eyes narrowed. From where? Marcus looked at me. I looked at him. Oh, absolutely not, I said. Do not look at me like I personally rang your creepy castle doorbell. The bell sounded again. This time the baby pressed hard under my palm. The sound cut off. Silence dropped so suddenly, my ears rang. Everyone froze. Kenneth turned slowly toward my stomach. Marks lowered his gun an inch. Well, I pointed at him. Don't. I said nothing. You were about to. I value my life more than that. Kenneth crossed back to the bed, his expression tight. Does it hurt? No. It feels like your child is auditioning for a marching band. Our child, he corrected softly. I hated how fast that slipped under my defenses. I also hated that I was wearing a nightshirt with tiny moons on it while multiple armed werewolves stood in my bedroom. A woman deserved dignity during supernatural emergencies. Can everyone not actively married to this disaster please leave my room? I asked. Marcus blinked. Married? Engaged, claimed, emotionally inconvenienced. Pick one. Kenneth did not take his eyes off me. Leave us. The guards vanished immediately. Marcus hesitated at the door. Should I send the healer? Yes, Kenneth said. No, I said at the same time. Kenneth looked at me. I looked back. Marcus sighed. I'll send the healer and pray. Good choice, I told him. He left. A minute later, Elspeth arrived in a black robe that somehow still looked formal enough for a funeral. The woman probably slept in a lace collar in judgment. Behind her came the healer, a soft-spoken wolf named Dr. Vale, who carried a leather medical case and had the wise, careful expression of someone who understood that pregnant women and alpha kings were both unstable creatures. Elspeth's eyes went to my stomach. I raised one finger. "Do not bow." Her mouth closed. "Progress." "The bell," Kenneth said. "Explain." Elspeth clasped her hands in front of her. "It is the bloodline bell, Your Majesty. It has not rung since your great-grandmother carried the last prophesied heir." I stared at her. "Your castle has a pregnancy bell?" "It is not a pregnancy bell, my lady. It rang when the baby kicked. It rang when the anchor responded to the keep. That sounds like a pregnancy bell with better branding." Marcus made a sound from the hallway that suggested he was still very much listening and very much enjoying himself. Kenneth shot the door a look. The hallway went quiet. Dr. Vale approached the bed slowly. "May I?" I sighed and nodded. She checked my pulse, my temperature, my blood pressure, and then pressed warm hands gently over my stomach. Kenneth stood so close I could feel the tension coming off him. Dr. Vale smiled faintly. "The child is strong." Kenneth's jaw flexed. "Too strong?" "Not dangerously." "That is not an answer." "It is the only honest one." I liked her immediately. Kenneth did not. The baby shifted again, softer this time, and my body relaxed before my brain gave permission. Dr. Vale noticed. "She responds to him." Everyone went still. "She?" I repeated. Dr. Vale's eyes widened slightly. "I only meant the child. Forgive me. Sometimes old language." But Kenneth was looking at my stomach. Not with fear this time, with something close to wonder. I swallowed. We didn't know yet. Not officially. Angela had seen things, but visions were slippery and cruel, and always came with fine print written in blood. I had tried not to hold too tightly to anything she'd told me. One brown eye, one wolf eye, a child who belonged to two worlds, a daughter. The word moved through me like a match struck in the dark. I placed a hand over my stomach. The baby settled. Elspeth's voice softened. "The keep recognizes her." I closed my eyes. "We are not doing this at midnight." Kenneth turned to Elspeth. "No one speaks of this outside the inner circle." "My king, the bell woke half the castle. Then half the castle will learn silence." That alpha voice rolled through the room, low and lethal. Even I felt it. The baby did too. She kicked, hard. I gasped and slapped a hand over my stomach. "Okay, no. Do not alpha voice the fetus." Kenneth's power vanished instantly. Dr. Vale lowered her head to hide a smile. Elspeth looked like she had swallowed a candle. Kenneth came closer, all severity gone. "I upset her?" "I don't know, Kenneth. Maybe she's already tired of men making announcements." His eyes stayed on my stomach. "I will refrain." "From announcements?" "From unnecessary alpha command near the child." I stared at him. That is not where I expected this conversation to go. But thank you. Dr. Vale finished her examination and declared that I needed sleep, fluids, and less stress. I laughed. No one else did. Cowards. By the time they finally left, the castle had quieted again. Kenneth remained beside the bed, watching me like he expected the mattress to betray me. "You can go," I said, even though I wasn't sure I wanted him to. His gaze lifted. "Do you want me to?" That was a dangerous question. A simple one, maybe, for normal people. For us, it felt like stepping onto thin ice with a baby strapped to my chest and wolves watching from the shoreline. I looked away. "I want you to stop standing like a haunted statue." "I do not know what that means." "It means either sit down or leave. The looming is not restful." He sat. Immediately. Right on the edge of the bed like obedience had personally attacked him. I turned onto my side as much as my stomach allowed and pulled the blanket up. "You're still looming," I muttered. "I am sitting." aggressively. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, very carefully, he leaned back against the headboard, keeping a respectful distance between us. It should not have made me feel safer. It did. I hated that too. Sleep, he said. Do not command me to sleep. Rest rebelliously, then. My eyes opened. Kenneth stared straight ahead like he had not just made a joke. I narrowed my eyes at him. Did you just try humor? No. You did. I would never. Liar. His mouth twitched. I rolled my eyes, but the exhaustion dragged at me hard now. The bell, the baby, the wolves, the word daughter sitting quietly behind my ribs. It was all too much. My eyelids lowered. Just before sleep took me, I felt Kenneth's hand hover near my stomach without touching. Waiting. Asking. I reached down, found his wrist, and placed his palm against the curve of me. The baby did not kick. She only settled. Kenneth went very still. I fell asleep before either of us could ruin it by speaking. Morning at Blackthorn Keep began with 3 crimes. First, the curtains opened themselves. Second, someone had placed flowers beside my bed that smelled like honey, rain, and immediate nausea. Third, breakfast involved meat. Not normal breakfast meat. Not bacon, not sausage, not anything civilized. No. Someone had sent up a covered silver tray containing what looked like an entire roasted animal leg, seasoned with rosemary, garlic, and the personal intent to murder me. I opened the lid, inhaled once, and immediately gagged. Kenneth appeared in the doorway like my stomach had summoned him. What happened? I pointed at the tray while covering my mouth. A crime. He crossed the room in 3 strides, saw the food, and looked murderous. Who sent this? I don't know, but they clearly want me dead. He lifted the tray and shoved it toward the hall. A servant took it and disappeared so quickly. I respected her survival instincts. Kenneth turned back to me. I told them no strong sense. Maybe your castle interpreted that as no weak sense. I will handle it. Please don't execute breakfast. I was considering the chef. Kenneth. He looked genuinely irritated. He was given specific instructions. Do not kill a man over rosemary. I never said kill. Your face said something close. My face is often misunderstood. Your face wears threats like formal wear. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Small victories. I sat on the edge of the bed and pressed a hand to my stomach. The nausea rolled through me slowly, mean and unnecessary. Crackers. Kenneth turned toward the hall. No, I said quickly. Not a production, just crackers. There are crackers in the sitting room. Why? You needed them last night. I stared at him. He stared back. My eyes burned suddenly. Absolutely not. Not over crackers. I stood too fast, got dizzy, sat back down, and immediately hated my body for being dramatic. Kenneth was beside me at once, one hand hovering near my shoulder. Liorah. I'm fine. You are not. I am fine in the way pregnant women are fine, which means everything is terrible, but nobody needs to call a parliament. His brow furrowed. Do pregnant women often require parliament? Not if everyone behaves. He looked like he was honestly considering this information. I sighed. Crackers, Kenneth. He brought them himself. Of course he did. He also brought water, ginger tea, sliced fruit, toast, and 3 different jars of pickles arranged on a tray like offerings to an unpredictable goddess. I looked at the tray, then at him. Why are there 3 pickle jars? You said last night the ones in the penthouse tasted too sweet. That was weeks ago. I remembered. There it went again, that horrible, inconvenient softness in my chest. I grabbed a cracker and bit into it aggressively. Kenneth watched. What? I asked around the cracker. You are eating. Congratulations on having eyes. His gaze lowered to the tray. You should have protein. I stopped chewing. He went still. Very smart. Say protein again, I said. and I'll throw this cracker at your crown. I am not wearing a crown. Then I'll throw it at your royal forehead. He bowed his head slightly. Understood. Then the toast tasted wrong. I ate 2 more crackers and half a slice of toast. I found an armory, 3 portraits of angry men with Kenneth's cheekbones, a locked chapel, 2 staircases I refused to acknowledge, and a hallway where every torch lit itself blue when I passed. Stop that, I told the wall. The wall did not listen. Blackthorn Keep had a personality, and unfortunately that personality was Kenneth. Ancient, dramatic, controlling, very fond of mood lighting. I finally found the sunroom by accident. It was beautiful, which annoyed me. Tall glass windows curved outward over the mountain slope, catching the gray daylight and turning it soft. Vines crawled over black iron frames. Cushioned chairs sat near a low table. Shelves of books lined the inner wall, and beyond the windows, pine forest rolled down toward misty cliffs. For one moment, I forgot to be mad. Then the baby kicked my ribs. Right. Still pregnant in a haunted royal snow globe. I lowered myself into one of the chairs with the grace of a folding lawn chair, giving up in public, and rubbed my stomach. You and I told the baby, need to discuss workplace boundaries. A soft knock sounded. I turned. Mara, the young servant from the entrance hall, stood in the doorway, holding a tray. She looked terrified. I tried not to take it personally. Hi, I said. She dipped her head, caught herself before bowing, and straightened with visible effort. I appreciated that. Lady Liorah, she said. I brought ginger tea, oat milk, and crackers. Are they safe crackers or emotionally complicated crackers? Her eyes widened. I sighed. That was a joke, mostly. I can bring different ones. No, these are fine. Come in. She carried the tray inside and set it on the table. Her gaze flicked to my stomach, then immediately up to my face. Also appreciated. You're learning fast, I said. Her cheeks warmed. His Majesty gave strict instructions. Of course he did. He said not to stare at your stomach, not to comment on your appetite, not to mention prophecy before breakfast, not to approach from behind, not to use lavender, not to offer raw meat, and not to bow unless you fall, in which case I'm supposed to help you up before anyone else panics. I stared at her. Mara swallowed. Was that wrong? No, I said slowly. That is, unfortunately thoughtful. She looked relieved. I picked up the oat milk. Did he write this down? There was a briefing. A briefing. Yes, my lady. How long? My sister once cried because her husband bought green grapes instead of red, then threw one slipper at his head and made him apologize to the grapes. I hid in the garage for 2 hours. That is the complete depth of my wisdom. A pause. Then Kenneth said, Did he deserve it? Probably. I covered my mouth. Marcus continued. Look, commanding armies and understanding pregnant women are not the same skill set. I am aware of that. You are saying that like a man who recently tried to apply military strategy to toast. She was upset. Because of the toast? She said it betrayed her. Then the toast had it coming. Another pause. Kenneth sounded pained. This is not helpful. I'm being extremely helpful. You're just looking for a manual. There must be reliable information. It's pregnancy, not assembling furniture. I have assembled furniture. Then you know the manual lies. I leaned against the wall, grinning despite myself. Kenneth exhaled. This morning she wanted me near her, but not too near. Correct. She said my breathing was loud. Kenneth's gaze dropped to the sleeve of my robe, where crumbs had betrayed me. His mouth twitched. I narrowed my eyes. Laugh, and I'll tell the whole castle you asked Marcus for pregnancy advice. I did ask Marcus for pregnancy advice. That is worse. You admitted it. Marcus stepped aside. I told him to buy snacks and avoid confidence. Excellent advice, I said. Kenneth looked between us. You are both enjoying this. A little, Marcus admitted. A lot, I corrected. Kenneth's expression went dark enough to scare most nations. Unfortunately for him, I was hormonal and had eaten half a sleeve of crackers. Do you need something? He asked me. Yes. He straightened. What? I don't know yet. I just came to see if you were suffering. Marcus coughed. Kenneth stared at me for a long second. Then he said, I am. The answer was so dry, so immediate, so unlike him, that I laughed before I could stop myself. Kenneth watched me laugh. Not the way the wolves watched me. Not like prophecy. Not like danger. Like he was trying to memorize proof that I could still do it. That made my laughter falter. So I did what any emotionally stable woman would do. I turned around and walked away. The problem with living in a castle was that there were too many rooms available for a person to dramatically avoid her feelings. I tried the library first. Too many old books watching me. Then the sitting room. Too many pillows. Then the human kitchen. Too many jars labeled according to Kenneth's increasingly aggressive system. Liorah. Approved crackers. I stood in front of the last jar for a long time. It was filled with individually wrapped ginger candies. I was mad about it. I took 4. By late afternoon, the castle settled into a strange rhythm around me. Guards stayed far enough back that I could pretend I didn't notice them. Servants stopped almost bowing after I glared at the third one. Mara brought me lunch that did not smell like a hunting lodge. Kenneth disappeared into meetings with Marcus, Elspeth, and several wolves whose footsteps sounded important. I told myself that was good. Space was good. Independence was good. Not being hovered over by a royal werewolf with trauma and cheekbones was very good. Then I missed him. Which was rude. My own body had betrayed me in several ways already, but emotionally missing Kenneth Blackthorne while eating emergency ginger candy felt personal. I went back to the sunroom because it had the best view and the least judgmental furniture. Kenneth's tablet sat on the low table beside a stack of papers. I recognized it because the case was black leather embossed with the Blackthorn crest. Subtle, if your definition of subtle was royal branding on office supplies. The screen was still awake. I glanced toward the door. No one was there. I picked it up. Not snooping. Research. The page open on the screen read, How to Support a Pregnant Partner Through Grief. My fingers tightened around the tablet. For a second, the room went very quiet. Then I noticed the search bar history beneath it, and because I was human, pregnant, and morally flexible, I tapped it. The list dropped down. I stared. Then I read the first one aloud. That I was searching whether pregnant women cry over pickles? You were scared? The humor left him. The castle seemed to quiet around us. Kenneth looked away first, toward the windows and the mountains beyond them. Daylight had started to fade, turning the forest silver at the edges. He stood there in his black suit, broad shoulders tight, crown absent but still somehow worn in every line of him. I am not accustomed to fear being useful, he said. I didn't speak. He continued, voice low. In war, fear is controlled, hidden, converted into strategy. If I admit fear, others panics. If I show uncertainty, enemies move. I'm not your enemy. His gaze came back to mine. No. The word was soft. Certain. You are the one person before whom my fear has nowhere to go. My throat tightened. That was too honest. I had not prepared emotionally for Kenneth Blackthorne, with self-awareness. He stepped closer, still careful. I am not afraid of war, or death, or the council, or whatever remains of Grayson's allies. You should maybe be a little afraid of the council. They sound dusty and mean. A faint smile touched his mouth, then vanished. I am afraid of failing you. There it was. Simple. Heavy. Impossible to joke away. I swallowed. Kenneth's hands flexed at his sides. I do not know human pregnancy. I do not know how to make your body feel safe. I do not know how to help you grieve a man I once considered my rival. I do not know how to give you freedom without seeing every open door as a weapon someone can use against you." My eyes burned again. He looked at the tablet like it had betrayed him too. Every instinct I have was built for control, command, containment. Those instincts kept me alive, kept my people alive. I know. But they hurt you. I looked down. He did not let me avoid it. "I know they hurt you," he said. The words landed with the quiet force of an apology, even if he hadn't used the word. Maybe that made it stronger. Kenneth took a breath. "I searched because I could not trust my instincts with you. They are too sharp, too old, too afraid. I needed..." His jaw worked once. I needed to learn another way. I wiped under my eye with my thumb and tried very hard not to become a puddle of inconvenient feelings. "You're still annoying," I said. His eyes warmed. "I know," he said, "but I am learning." The room went still. Something inside me softened so much it hurt. Not forgiveness for everything. Not surrender. Not the grand romantic ending the old portraits probably wanted to witness from their dusty frames. Just a small door opening. A little. Enough. I stood slowly. Kenneth moved like he wanted to help, but forced himself not to. Good. I stepped closer. He watched me, uncertain in a way I had never seen before. Kenneth could face down an army without blinking, but apparently one pregnant woman approaching him in a sunroom was enough to turn the Alpha King into a man who forgot where to put his hands. That made me brave. Or stupid. Sometimes those were cousins. I stopped in front of him. "Don't move." His eyes dropped to my mouth, then back to my eyes. "I won't." I rose onto my toes, caught the front of his suit jacket in one hand, and kissed him. It was quick, almost shy. A brush of my mouth against his, soft enough that I could pretend it hadn't shaken me. Except it did. I picked up the tablet and handed it to him. "You may want to delete the search about being bitten. Marcus will never let you survive it." Kenneth took the tablet without looking at it. His eyes stayed on me. Liorah. The way he said my name made my pulse trip over itself. I pointed toward the door. "I'm going to get oat milk." "You have oat milk here." "I'm going to get different oat milk." "Why?" "Because if I stay in this room, you're going to say something intense, and I don't have the emotional calcium for that." His lips curved, slowly, carefully, beautifully. That was unfair. Very unfair. I turned and walked out before my own body could betray me again. Behind me, Kenneth remained frozen in the sunroom, with his tablet in one hand, my kiss still sitting between us, like a secret neither of us knew how to put down. At the end of the hall, Mara appeared with a tray. She took one look at my face, and wisely said nothing. I accepted the glass of oat milk she offered and kept walking, because I was still overwhelmed, still grieving, still angry, still pregnant in a castle that rang bells when my baby moved. But for the first time since arriving at Blackthorn Keep, I felt something warm unfold beneath all the fear. Not certainty. Not peace. Something smaller. More dangerous. Hope. By morning I had decided the kiss in the sunroom did not count. It had been quick. Tiny. Barely a kiss. A motivational mouth tap. Unfortunately, Kenneth Blackthorn did not seem to understand the emotional category of motivational mouth tap, because he had spent breakfast looking at me like I had rewritten the laws of gravity with my lips. I poured oat milk into my tea and tried not to notice. "You're staring," I said. "I am observing." "Observe your toast." He looked down at the plate in front of him, like the toast had personally disappointed him. "I dislike toast." "That's because it fears you." His mouth twitched. Across the table, Marcus looked exhausted already, which was impressive because the day had barely started. Kenneth set his cup down. "There is something I want to show you." I immediately narrowed my eyes. "Is it alive?" "No." "Does it bow?" "No." "Does it involve a prophecy? A secret tunnel? or anyone explaining my womb to me with historical context? Marcus choked on his coffee. Kenneth ignored him. It is part of the East Wing. The wing with Bram, the bathroom-adjacent wolf? Bram has been reassigned. To where? The outer stairwell. I stared at him. Kenneth held my gaze. Far from the bathroom. Progress, I said, because apparently that was my life now. After breakfast, Kenneth led me through the east corridor of Blackthorn Keep. The castle behaved itself for once. No dramatic bells, no blue torches flaring like they had a flair for theater. Just old stone, tall windows, and a level of silence that made me suspect the walls were still listening. 2 guards followed at a distance. I glanced back. Kenneth noticed. They are not close. They have ears. They are trained not to listen. That's not how ears work. His jaw tightened. Do you want them gone? The question surprised me enough that I almost tripped. I looked up at him. You're asking? I am learning. Rude. Again. I hated when he used growth against me. I want them farther, I said. Kenneth turned his head once. The guards stopped, bowed their heads, and retreated around the corner. Better? He asked. I refused to smile. Slightly. We reached a pair of carved double doors at the end of the hall. Kenneth opened them himself. I stepped inside and stopped. The space beyond was not a room. It was a life. A private suite opened into a wide sitting area with soft couches, warm rugs, and shelves already filled with books. Beyond that was a bedroom with heavy curtains, and a bed piled with emerald and gold blankets. A door on the left revealed a human kitchen, an actual kitchen, not a wolf shrine to raw meat. I saw pots, pans, spices, tea, snacks, oat milk stacked like treasure, and a little note in Marcus's handwriting that read, "Emergency pickles. Do not relocate." My throat tightened before I could stop it. Kenneth watched my face carefully. The kitchen is yours. No staff enters unless invited. I moved past him because standing still felt dangerous. The next room was a medical suite, clean, warm, stocked with equipment I recognized, and several things I absolutely did not. A bassinet stood in the corner beside folded blankets. I walked out before my emotions could catch me there. Kenneth followed without speaking. Then came the library, then the sunroom I had already found, then a balcony overlooking the forest. Below it, surrounded by high stone walls covered in climbing vines, was a garden dusted with silver light. Secure garden, Kenneth said. You can walk there without guards surrounding you. The walls are warded. The gates open only for you, me, Marcus, and Elspeth. I stared down at the garden. It was beautiful. Of course it was beautiful. There were paths lined with winter roses, benches beneath black-barked trees, lanterns hanging from iron hooks, and a fountain shaped like a sleeping wolf. It looked peaceful, private, safe. It also had walls. I wrapped my arms around myself. You did all this? Yes. When? Before you arrived. Of course. His gaze sharpened. You dislike it. That's not what I said. You went quiet. I'm allowed to go quiet without it becoming a national emergency. Kenneth stepped closer, but not too close. Tell me. I turned from the balcony. It's beautiful. He waited. And thoughtful, I added, because it was. That was the annoying part. The kitchen, the garden, the books, the no bathroom wolf policy, it's all very, you trying not be terrible. His brow lifted. High praise. Don't get comfortable. I wouldn't dare. I looked past him at the suite, at the doors, the locks, the wards I could feel humming faintly beneath the stone. My chest tightened. It's also a cage. Kenneth went still. I hated the flash of hurt in his eyes almost as much as I hated that I had caused it. He turned slightly, looking over the rooms as if seeing them through my eyes for the first time. This wing is meant to protect you. I know. Then why call it a cage? Because that's what a cage is, Kenneth. Something built by someone else that decides where you're safe. His jaw flexed. Safety is not an insult. No, but control dressed up as love still has teeth. The air between us shifted. There he was again, the Alpha King under the man. Not angry. Not yet. But fighting instinct with both hands. You nearly died, he said. You keep saying that like I forgot. I say it because you behave as if I should. My temper sparked. I behave like I'm still alive. You are alive because people guarded you. And I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean I hand you the keys to my life. His eyes flashed. Every enemy we have left wants that child. Our child, I snapped. The words hit him. Good. Let them. Our child, he said quietly. I placed a hand over my stomach. The baby shifted, slow and soft, like she was listening. You don't get to claim me, crown me, and then hide me. Kenneth took one step forward. I am trying to keep you alive. I stepped toward him too, because pregnancy had made me many things, but it had not made me retreat. Then try letting me live. Silence cracked open between us. His chest rose and fell once. Mine did too. We were too close now. Close enough for me to catch a scent. Cedar, cold air, and that dark, wild thing under his skin that made my pulse forget manners. His eyes dropped to my mouth. Mine betrayed me and did the same. Terrible. Highly inconvenient. You think freedom means open gates, he said, voice lower now. I think freedom means I get a say in whether they open. And if opening them risks you, then we talk about it. We decide together. You don't just build walls and expect me to thank you because the wallpaper is expensive. A faint, unwilling smile touched his mouth. I pointed at him. Do not be charming right now. I'm making a serious point. I am aware. You look amused. I'm trying not to look overwhelmed by you. That shut me up. Only for a second. Good, I said. Be overwhelmed. Builds character. His smile vanished into something softer. You are not my prisoner. Then prove it. Kenneth's expression tightened. I knew what I was asking cost him. I could see it in the set of his shoulders, in the battle behind his eyes. He wanted to say no. Not because he didn't love me, but because he did, and his love still reached first for locks. Finally, he said, Tomorrow. I blinked. Tomorrow what? We leave the castle grounds. My heart gave a stupid little jump. Kenneth continued before I could celebrate too much. You and I. No council escort. No household procession. Marcus will remain near enough to respond, but not close enough to interfere. That sounds like one guard. He stepped closer again, and this time I didn't move away. His hand lifted, stopped, waited. I sighed like he was inconveniencing me and placed his palm on my stomach. The baby kicked once. Kenneth's face softened instantly. Traitor baby. Tomorrow, I said. Tomorrow, he agreed. And today I get to walk in the garden alone. His entire body objected before his mouth could. I raised an eyebrow. Kenneth closed his eyes briefly, like he was praying for strength from ancestors who had clearly given him none. Alone, he said, each word dragged from a battlefield. Inside the wards. No bathroom wolves, no garden wolves. No garden wolves. And no one bows if I pick a flower. I will issue a decree. I smiled, despite myself. He looked at my smile like he wanted to touch it. The dangerous warmth returned, curling low and quiet between us. I should have stepped back. I didn't. Kenneth leaned down just enough for his breath to brush my cheek. You terrify me. Good, I whispered. Maybe now we're even. Before either of us could do something reckless, the baby kicked him again. Hard. Kenneth looked down. I smirked. She said, back up. His eyes lifted, bright with something almost like joy. For the first time, the East Wing didn't feel like a cage. Not completely. But it was going to have to learn the difference between keeping me safe and keeping me still. Chapter 4. The Moon Market. For a man who had promised one Marcus, Kenneth arrived for our outing dressed like he expected the mountain village to declare war on my ankles. He stood in the East Wing sitting room, wearing a black coat, black gloves, and the expression of a man personally offended by fresh air. I looked him up and down. "Are we going to a market or invading one?" His eyes dropped to my boots. "Those are not suitable." "They are boots. They have a heel. A tiny heel. You are pregnant." "I am aware. I was there for the announcement." Marcus, standing near the door, looked at the ceiling like he had chosen prayer over involvement. Kenneth held out a pair of flat-lined boots. Kenneth slowed beside me. The moon market. For once, he wasn't being dramatic enough. It was beautiful. Moonstone jewelry glittered beneath glass canopies. Charms swung from copper hooks. Enchanted fabrics rippled without wind, shifting from velvet to silk to something that looked like starlight trapped in cloth. A blacksmith with amber wolf eyes displayed silver-resistant blades. A witch with blue braids sold bottled storms the size of perfume vials. Wolf children darted between stalls, laughing, their eyes flashing bright when they ran too fast. The smells hit me next. Roasted chestnuts, honey cakes, spiced cider, charred meat, herbs, snow, fur, magic. My stomach growled loudly. Kenneth looked down at me. "Hungry?" "I am carrying your supernatural daughter through a magical farmer's market." "Yes, Kenneth, I am hungry." His face softened at the word daughter. I pretended not to notice. We walked slowly through the square. People recognized him instantly. They bowed, but not the terrifying courtyard kind. These were smaller gestures, heads lowered, hands over hearts. A few murmured, "My king," with relief instead of fear. A baker pushed a bag of warm bread into Kenneth's hands and refused payment. A weapons trader asked about border patrols. A young wolf mother brought forward a little boy with a bandaged arm. Kenneth crouched, listened seriously, and told him scars were proof of survival, not shame. The child beamed like the moon had personally approved him. I watched Kenneth stand. Something inside me shifted. In the castle, he was power behind stone walls. Here, he was still terrifying, yes, but he was also shelter. People looked at him like the world might still hold because he stood in it. That was the first time I understood why being queen might not only mean crowns, councils, and people staring at my stomach. It could mean this: knowing who needed bread, who needed medicine, who had lost sons to war, who had daughters learning to shift too early, who was afraid and pretending not to be. A woman at a herb stall waved me closer. She was tiny, wrinkled, and wearing enough necklaces to qualify as armor. "Future queen," she said. I sighed. "Could we maybe start with Liorah?" Her eyes sparkled. "No." Kenneth made a sound suspiciously close to amusement. I pointed at him. "Don't." The old woman reached under her table and pulled out a charm on a thin gold chain. A crescent moon wrapped around a tiny dark stone that pulsed once when she placed it in my palm. My baby kicked. Kenneth went still. The woman nodded. For the little one. To soften loud magic before birth. My fingers closed around it. "How much?" "No charge." "No, absolutely not. Free magical baby jewelry is how curses start." The old woman cackled. Kenneth placed coins on the table anyway. She looked offended. "Alpha kings. Always paying for blessings." "Always," he said. I slipped the chain into my pocket because wearing mysterious moon jewelry without Dr. Vale checking it felt like exactly how someone ended up in a prophecy footnote. She gave Kenneth a look I did not like. Familiar, assessing. Like she had known him before grief and war and me. Something hot and ugly twisted in my chest. Jealousy. Fantastic. I had survived kidnappings, prophecies, and morning sickness, only to be humbled by a woman touching a sleeve. Seraphine drifted away with a bow that somehow insulted me. Kenneth turned to me slowly. "No," I said. "I said nothing. You're thinking loudly." His eyes brightened. You are jealous. Wipe that smug look off your face before I embarrass both of us in public. His smile deepened. You are jealous. I am pregnant, hungry, and armed with a stick of candied meat. Choose your next words carefully. Kenneth leaned closer, voice low. I choose them with great care. Liar. She touched my arm. I saw. I removed her hand. I also saw. And yet you look ready to challenge her to combat. I took another bite of candied meat. Maybe I support women's sports. He laughed. Not a breath, not a twitch. A real laugh. It hit me harder than it should have. Several people turned to look, not because it was loud, but because it was rare. Their king laughing in the moonlight beside his pregnant human mate, while she threatened nobles with street food. The market seemed to soften around us. We stayed until my feet ached, and my bag held bread, ginger sweets, 3 protective charms, a bundle of pregnancy herbs, and 1 enchanted blanket that purred when folded. Kenneth insisted the purring was normal. I insisted nothing about this kingdom was normal. On the walk back through the trees, the market lights faded behind us. The path to the keep wound upward beneath snow-dusted branches. Marcus remained far enough back to pretend we had privacy. Kenneth walked beside me in silence. A good silence, the rare kind. Then he stopped under a canopy of black pine. I stopped too. What? His gaze moved over my face. You were happy tonight. I looked away. I was fed tonight. You were happy. The softness in his voice was dangerous. Kenneth. He stepped closer, slow enough for me to stop him. I didn't. His gloved fingers brushed my cheek, then slid gently to the back of my neck. He lowered his mouth to mine. This kiss was not shy. It was warm and deep and careful in a way that made my heart hurt. I kissed him back before I could think better of it, one hand curling into the front of his coat, the other resting over the life between us. For a moment there was no castle, no council, no prophecy. Only Kenneth. Only me. Only the terrible, tender truth that I wanted him. Then grief rose sharp beneath my ribs. Terrell. I pulled away, breath unsteady. Kenneth released me immediately. I'm sorry, I whispered. His eyes searched mine, but he did not demand, did not claim, did not make my guilt easier or harder. He only held out his hand. After a moment, I took it, and together, without another word, we walked back toward Blackthorn Keep. The morning after the moon market, I woke up with Kenneth's kiss still sitting on my mouth like it had paid rent, which was rude. I had things to do, important things, pregnant things, like deciding whether the enchanted blanket we bought was adorable or possessed. Kenneth's jaw flexed. I should speak to her first. I looked at him. He looked back. Try again, I said. His eyes flashed once, wolf-bright and protective. Then he breathed out through his nose like being reasonable, physically hurt. I will walk with you. Good boy. Marcus coughed into his fist. Kenneth ignored him, but the look he gave me promised we would be revisiting that later. Fine. I had worse problems at the gates. Angela stood beyond the southern arch beneath a sky heavy with mountain mist. 2 Blackthorn guards flanked her, both watching her like she might turn into smoke. She wore a dark coat belted above her belly, and pregnancy had changed her in ways that hit me hard. Her face was tired. Her curls were pinned back messily. One hand rested over the curve of her stomach, like she was holding herself together through sheer will. She looked at me. And everything I had been holding tight inside my chest tried to break loose. Relief. Anger. Love. Betrayal. Grief. I wanted to run to her. I wanted to slap her. I wanted to collapse against her and scream until neither of us had anything left. Angela's lips parted. Liorah. My name and her voice almost undid me. Almost. Kenneth's presence warmed my back, steady and dangerous. I didn't look at him, but I felt the growl building in his chest before it escaped. If you growl at my best friend before I decide whether I hate her, I said quietly, I will throw up on your boots. The growl stopped. Marcus behind us murmured, I'll have a bucket prepared. I pointed at him without turning. Not helping. Angela's eyes filled. I hated that too. She took one step forward. I lifted a hand. Don't. She stopped immediately. Good. Bad. Everything hurt. You came to my castle, I said. Her mouth trembled. Technically, it's his castle. Angela? Sorry. She blinked hard. Nerves. Also pregnancy. Also fear of being murdered by your fiancé. Kenneth's voice cut in, cold as mountain stone. That remains under consideration. Kenneth, I warned. He went silent. Angela looked at him, then back at me. I deserved that. You deserve several things. I'm deciding the order. A broken little laugh left her. Then silence. The kind we used to fill with jokes, gossip, food, complaints about men, and plans that never included monsters. I stepped closer. Slow. You lied to me. Angela's shoulders folded inward. I know. You manipulated me. I know. You sent me into danger with half-truths and herbs and some mysterious note like you were auditioning to be the worst fortune cookie in history. Her eyes closed. And Tyrell died, I said. The words came out quieter than the rest. Angela opened her eyes. Pain moved across her face so clearly I almost looked away. Almost. I saw it, she whispered. My throat tightened. Then why didn't you stop it? Because I couldn't. The wind moved between us. Angela pressed both hands to her stomach now, like the baby inside her was the only thing, keeping her upright. Every path where I told you everything ended worse. If I warned you about Tyrell, Grayson moved earlier. If I told you about the anchor, they came for you before Kenneth could protect you. If I told you not to trust anyone, you ran, and they found you alone. I didn't want to hear this. I needed to. My chest went tight. But in most of them, she continued, tears sliding down her cheeks, you died too. You and the baby. So I chose the path where you lived, even though I knew you would hate me for it. Angela's voice broke. Tyrell died in every version I saw, Liorah. Every one. I shook my head. You don't get to call it protection when I was the one bleeding through the consequences. Angela flinched like I had struck her. Good. I wanted it to hurt. Then I hated that I wanted it. I know, she whispered. I know. I am so sorry. The apology landed, but it didn't fix anything. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. Kenneth stayed behind me, silent and tense. I could feel how badly he wanted to step in, to end the conversation, to punish the person who had hurt me. But he didn't. He let it be mine. That mattered. Angela wiped her face with shaking fingers. I didn't come because I thought you'd forgive me. Good. I came because I saw the birth. The baby went still inside me. Kenneth stepped closer. What did you see? Angela looked at him, and for once, she didn't joke. Too much. My hand moved to my stomach. Angela. Her gaze returned to mine. She's coming sooner than she should. The words hit like cold water. No, I said automatically. I saw a storm. The keep shaking. Wolves kneeling without command. You screaming at Kenneth. That last part could be any Tuesday. Angela almost smiled. Almost. Then it vanished. You need me there. I hated that. I hated that she was probably right. I looked at her tired face, her swollen belly, the fear under her eyes. I remembered late nights in my apartment, her stealing my fries, her laughing so hard she snorted, her holding my hand after bad dates, her pretending she wasn't scared when visions took too much from her. I missed her. That was the worst part. I don't forgive you today, I said. Angela nodded, tears coming faster. Okay. But you can stay. Her face crumpled. I pointed at her because if she hugged me now, I would lose the entire battle. Rules, no. Cryptic warnings, no disappearing. No deciding what truth I can handle. Agreed. And no prophecy before breakfast. She gave a watery laugh. That seems fair. And if you lie to me again, I will revoke your anti-privileges before the baby even has fingers strong enough to pull your hair. Angela looked down at my stomach with a softness that cracked something open in me. She'll have strong fingers. My breath caught. Then Angela's expression changed, her eyes unfocused. The air snapped tight. Angela? I whispered. She reached toward me. Can I? I hesitated. Then I took her hand and placed it on my stomach. The baby kicked once. Angela gasped. Her eyes went silver. Kenneth moved, but I lifted my free hand, stopping him. Angela's fingers tightened on me. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. Then she whispered, I see her. My heart pounded. What? Deep brown skin, black curls, one brown eye, one blue. Tears slipped down her face. The baby shifted beneath both our hands. She opens them, and the whole castle kneels. Angela suddenly jerked, her expression twisted. No, she breathed. Kenneth's voice dropped. What do you see? Angela looked past me toward the castle. Her voice became a thread. Hands, she whispered. So many hands reaching for her. My blood turned cold. Angela's gaze snapped back to mine. They're going to try to take her. Angela's warning sat in the castle like smoke. Not the kind that made people cough. The kind that slipped under doors, settled into corners, and made everyone speak softer than usual. By breakfast, Kenneth had doubled the guards outside the east wing. Marcus had tripled patrol rotations, and Angela had been assigned a room close enough to mine that I could throw a pillow at her if she started having visions without supervision. I was not forgiving her yet. But I was watching her drink ginger tea with one hand on her stomach and exhaustion under. Pregnancy was rude like that. It kept making room for emotions I had not approved. Her eyes, and I hated how much I wanted to sit beside her. Kenneth stood near the window, speaking quietly to Marcus. They stopped the moment I entered, which immediately made me suspicious. I pointed at both of them. If you were discussing my uterus again, I'm charging a consultation fee. Marcus blinked. We were discussing perimeter weaknesses. Oh, that's less profitable. Kenneth's gaze moved over me, taking in the coat I wore over my dress and the boots already on my feet. His eyes narrowed. Where are you going? To see Tyrell. The room went silent. Angela looked up sharply. Marcus suddenly found the wall fascinating. Kenneth did not move. Today? Yes. There was a threat made against the child yesterday. There has been a threat against this child since before she had elbows. His jaw flexed. Liorah? No. I have not said anything. You were about to say not today in your king voice. I was going to suggest caution. That is king voice with better manners. Angela made a tiny sound that might have been a laugh. I didn't look at her because I was still mad, and if she made me laugh, I would have to add that to the list of crimes. Kenneth stepped closer. I am not refusing you. Good. But I am coming with you. I assumed. And Marcus. I opened my mouth. Kenneth lifted one hand. At a distance. I considered arguing on principle. Then the baby kicked hard enough to remind me that I was not, in fact, traveling alone inside my own body. Fine, I said. One Marcus. Marcus sighed. I do enjoy being reduced to a unit of measurement. You're welcome. The cemetery sat beneath a stretch of black pines beyond the northern ridge, where the snow fell softer and the wind moved like it was trying not to disturb the dead. It was not what I expected. No grand monuments, no dramatic wolf statues with glowing eyes, no ancient chanting circle where someone would explain inheritance law to me against my will. Just stones. Rows of them, dark and smooth, set into the earth beneath the trees. Some bore names in English. Others were carved in the old wolf language, all sharp lines and crescent marks. Small lanterns burned at several graves, blue flame cupped in iron. Tyrell's grave was near the edge of the cemetery where the trees opened toward the mountains. The stone was simple. Tyrell James Carter, beloved son, brave heart, protector. Under that, someone had carved a small crescent. My throat closed. Kenneth stopped several feet behind me. Marcus remained near the tree line. For once, nobody bowed. Nobody stared at my stomach. Nobody asked if I needed to sit, drink water, or be emotionally managed. The dead had better manners than the living. I walked to the grave and stood there with my hands shoved into my coat pockets. For a long moment I said nothing. The wind moved through the pine needles. My baby shifted gently, like she knew. "Hi," I said finally. My voice sounded too small for the mountain. I hated that. I cleared my throat. "This is awkward, because technically you are dead and I am talking to dirt. But a lot of my life has been strange lately, so honestly, this is not even top 5. Behind me, Kenneth stayed silent. Good. I looked at Tyrell's name. "I'm angry at you," I said. The words came easier once the first ones escaped. "I'm angry that you lied. I'm angry that you got pulled into something bigger than you understood and still thought you could fix it with charm and bad decisions. I'm angry that I had to watch you die after spending so much time wanting to shake you." My eyes burned. I blinked hard. "And I miss you," I whispered. That part hurt worse. Because anger had edges. You could hold it, point it, throw it. Missing someone was water in your hands. I miss who you were before everything got complicated. I miss your stupid laugh. I miss how you said my full name when you knew I was about to win an argument. I miss the version of us that didn't know about wolves and prophecies and babies with destiny baked into their DNA. I pressed one hand to my stomach. "She moves a lot," I told him. "Like she has opinions, so obviously she gets that from me." A weak laugh broke out of me and died quickly. "I don't know how this works," I said. "Kenneth says she is his by claim and magic. Angela says she is the anchor. Everyone else looks at her like she belongs to the world, which is really starting to get on my nerves." The trees whispered overhead. "But she is yours too." My voice cracked. "Your blood matters. Your name matters. You matter." I wiped my cheek with the back of my hand, irritated at my own face for leaking without permission. "I hate that you became a hero at the end," I said. "Do you know how inconvenient that is? I had a whole speech prepared about your poor choices, and then you had to go and die saving us." The memory hit hard. Tyrell stepping between danger and me. Blood. Snow. His hand slipping from mine. I closed my eyes. "I forgive you," I whispered. That almost broke me more than the grave had. I turned my head toward him. "You hated him." Kenneth's face gave away nothing, but his eyes were not cold. I hated what he represented. Which was? A life with you that did not include me. Well, that was honest enough to bruise. I looked back at Tyrell's name. The baby may be yours by claim, by magic, by whatever ancient wolf nonsense everyone keeps explaining to me without snacks. Kenneth's mouth twitched faintly. "But Tyrell's blood still matters," I said. "I need you to understand that." "I do." I looked at him sharply. He held my gaze. No growl, no possessive flash, no Alpha King trying to erase the dead because grief made him uncomfortable. Just Kenneth. Steady, tired. Mine in a way I was still learning how to accept. "She will know him," he said, not as my rival, as the man who helped save her life. My breath caught. Something inside me loosened. Not all the way. Maybe grief never opened completely. Maybe it just made enough space for you to breathe around it. I looked back at the grave and nodded. "Thank you," I whispered. Kenneth did not touch me. Somehow that made me want him to. We stayed until the blue lanterns flickered brighter and the snow began to fall in slow, silver pieces through the pines. When I finally turned away, the walk back felt longer. Marcus kept his distance. Kenneth walked beside me, his hands loose at his sides, careful not to reach first. The idiot was learning. I hated how much that made my heart ache. Halfway down the path, the baby kicked, sharp and sudden. I stopped with a breath. Kenneth turned instantly. Pain? No, she's just dramatic. Like her mother. I gasped. Careful. I've cried once today, and I'm emotionally available for violence. His mouth curved. The snow caught in his dark hair. His shoulders were broad beneath his coat, his presence warm beside me in the cold. I looked down at his hand. Then, before I could overthink it, I reached for him. Kenneth went very still. Just for a second. Then his fingers closed around mine. Gently, at first. Then tighter, like he had been given something fragile and holy, and was terrified of dropping it. Neither of us said anything. We just walked back toward the castle beneath the pines, hand in hand, with the dead behind us, and whatever came next waiting ahead. The full moon did not arrive all at once. It crept in. 3 nights before it was due, the castle started humming under my skin. Not literally. Probably. With Blackthorn Keep, I had learned not to make assumptions. The first sign was the kitchen. I stood in front of the open refrigerator at midnight, wearing Kenneth's robe, fuzzy socks, and the expression of a woman who had been betrayed by dairy alternatives. "This oat milk tastes wrong," I announced. The young kitchen attendant froze. Kenneth, who had followed me down after I threatened to eat the curtains, looked at the carton in my hand. "It is the same brand. It tastes nervous." The attendant's eyes widened. Kenneth took the carton from me, sniffed it, and frowned at the poor boy like the milk had committed treason. "Bring another." "Kenneth." He looked at me. I shut the door behind me. "That is a terrible open statement. The full moon is affecting you." "Yes, Kenneth, I am aware. My ears are basically decorative satellites at this point. You are emotional. I am always emotional. I'm human. We came with range." His mouth tightened. I stepped closer. He stepped back. That hurt more than I expected. I stopped. "Oh," I said quietly. His face shifted. "Liorah." "No, I get it. You do not. You wanted me when I was a problem to solve. A human to protect. A pregnant complication to lock in a wing and guard with one Marcus." His eyes went cold with something that was not anger. "That is not true. But now that I'm standing here choosing you, wanting you, you're acting like I asked you to pet a grenade." His control cracked. The air changed so suddenly, the fire bent toward him. "I want you," he said, voice rough. "Do not mistake restraint for rejection." My breath caught. He looked almost furious with himself. "I want you so badly it is taking every piece of discipline I have not to touch you. I hear your heart when I walk past your door. I smell your skin on my clothes after you leave a room. I dream of you and wake with my hands clenched because wanting you is easy and deserving you is not." The words hit me hard enough to make my eyes burn. "Kenneth, I will not take advantage of the moon, or the pregnancy, or the claim. I will not let you wake tomorrow and wonder if this was yours." I crossed the last of the space between us. His entire body went still. I placed my hand on his chest. His heartbeat slammed beneath my palm. "This is mine," I said. His eyes searched my face. "Are you certain?" I huffed out a shaky laugh. "If you ask me one more time, I'm going to start believing the big bad Alpha King is scared of me." His hand lifted slowly to my cheek. "I am terrified of you." That undid me. Not the hunger in his eyes, not the heat rolling through the room. The truth. I kissed him first. Kenneth made a sound low in his throat, like the last thread of his restraint had snapped clean through. His arms came around me, careful of my stomach, not careful of the kiss. He kissed me like a man who had been starving beside a feast and refusing to reach. I held on. Not because of magic, not because of the baby, not because the world wanted something from us. Because I wanted him. The fire burned lower. The moon climbed higher. And somewhere between his mouth on mine and my name breaking softly in his voice, the castle stopped feeling like a cage. It felt like a room we had chosen. Together. Later, I lay against him with my cheek on his chest and his arm wrapped around me like he still could not believe he was allowed. The baby moved between us. Kenneth's hand settled over my stomach. For a long moment, none of us breathed quite right. Then I felt it. His heartbeat. The baby's strange double rhythm. Mine. Slowly, impossibly, they found one another. Kenneth went silent beneath me. I looked up. His face was unguarded in the moonlight, soft with awe, fierce with fear, beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. "What?" I whispered. His thumb brushed over my stomach. "I can feel her," he said. The baby kicked once, right under his palm. His breath caught. I rested my hand over his. For the first time, the word family did not feel like a prophecy waiting to hurt me. It felt like a heartbeat. Then another. Then another. The royal council arrived at noon with snow on their cloaks and judgment already sitting in their mouths. I knew because the castle changed before they even stepped through the doors. Servants moved faster. Guards stood straighter. Marcus stopped making jokes, which was how I knew the situation was serious and possibly contagious. Angela found me in the mirror room while two maids tried to lace me into a dark emerald dress that made me look less like a pregnant woman and more like a very expensive threat. She leaned against the doorway, eating candied ginger from a little silver tin. "You look terrifying." "I look like I swallowed a royal watermelon." "You can be both." One of the maids tugged the laces a little tighter. I inhaled sharply. "If this dress cuts off circulation to my baby, I'm haunting everyone." The maid gasped. Angela pointed at her. "She means it. She's very committed to revenge." I turned slightly, studying myself. The dress was beautiful, annoyingly beautiful. Emerald silk, long sleeves, gold stitching at the cuffs, neckline modest enough to satisfy ancient wolves, but fitted enough to remind them Kenneth had sent it up that morning with a note. "Wear whatever makes you feel powerful. Burn the rest." I had hips, a heartbeat, and absolutely no intention of being furniture. I hated how much I loved him for that. Angela came up beside me, her own belly covered by a loose burgundy gown. She looked tired, but stronger than yesterday. Less like a woman being chased by visions, and more like the best friend who once threatened a man with a fork for talking over me at brunch. "You ready?" she asked softly. "No." "That's honest." "I'm going anyway." "That's you." The baby shifted, slow and heavy, like she was also preparing for political nonsense. I rested a hand on my stomach. "Listen, tiny person. If you decide to glow, levitate, or make grown wolves cry today, at least wait until I finish my speech." Angela's eyes flickered silver for half a second. I froze. Was that a vision? "No," she said quickly. That was me picturing it and enjoying myself. I narrowed my eyes. She smiled. We were not fixed, but we were better than broken. For now, that had to be enough. The council chamber of Blackthorn Keep looked like someone had designed it specifically to make people feel guilty for breathing. Long black table, high-backed chairs carved with wolves' heads, narrow windows showing the mountains beyond, torches burning blue along the stone walls, and at the far end stood Kenneth. Black royal suit, silver crown, broad shoulders, icy eyes. The kind of man people wrote warnings about in old books. When I entered, his gaze came to me first. Not the council, not Marcus. Me. Something warm moved through his expression before the king settled back over him like armor. I walked to his side without bowing to anyone, because absolutely not. The council watched me. There were 9 of them. Old power wrapped in velvet, jewels, and arrogance. They carried themselves like bloodlines with shoes. I recognized Alpha Grayson's absence like a missing tooth. Good. Dead enemies made terrible guests. At the center sat Elder Solène. She was elegant in a sharp, expensive way. Silver hair pinned at the back of her head, a diamond choker at her throat. her face smooth with control, her eyes dark and merciless. She looked me up and down. Then she smiled. I immediately hated her. "Lady Liorah," Solène said. "The human mother." Kenneth's hand flexed at his side. I put my fingers lightly against his wrist before he could turn the room into a crime scene. "Elder Solène," I replied. "The woman who says obvious things." Marcus made a strangled sound near the wall. Angela suddenly became very interested in the ceiling. Solène's smile tightened. "I meant no offense." "Then you should practice." A few council members shifted. Kenneth did not smile, but I felt satisfaction roll off him like heat. Solène folded her hands. "We come out of concern for the throne." "Funny," I said. "Most people bring gifts when visiting a pregnant woman." An older man with heavy rings leaned forward. "This is no ordinary pregnancy." "Yes, I've noticed. The glowing herbs, moon kicking, and people staring at my stomach like it owes them money gave it away." Another councilwoman sniffed. "The vessel speaks boldly." The word landed wrong. Vessel. Like I was a jar. Kenneth's eyes flashed wolf bright. This time I pressed my palm to his chest. He went still beneath my touch, but the growl in him stayed close. I looked at the councilwoman. "My name is Liorah." "We know your name," Solène said smoothly, "but names do not change function." "Oh, she's fun," Angela muttered. Solène's gaze cut to her. "And the seer, another complication." Angela smiled sweetly. "I've been called worse by better hair." Marcus coughed once. The council ignored him. Solène rose from her chair. "Let us speak plainly. The child you carry is not merely an heir. She is an anchor, a bridge, a weapon, a risk. Such power cannot be left to emotion." I tilted my head. Emotion is doing a lot of work in that sentence. I kept my eyes on Solène. "You came into our home, insulted me, called me a vessel, referred to my child like communal property, and now you're suggesting I'm too human to raise her." A councilman said, "Human mothers are often governed by feeling." I looked at him. "And wolf councils are governed by what? Dust? Ego? The smell of old furniture?" Angela made a sound behind her hand. Solène's eyes hardened. "You prove our point with every emotional outburst." "No, Elder. This is not an outburst." I stepped away from Kenneth and faced the full table. "This is me being polite." The room went silent. My daughter moved inside me, one firm kick beneath my ribs, like punctuation. "I survived your enemies," I said. "I survived being taken, claimed, hunted, lied to, used as bait, and nearly killed. I carried this child while everyone around me decided what she meant before she even had a name. I faced Grayson. I buried the man whose blood helped make her. I grieved, bled, threw up for weeks, and still managed not to murder anyone over oat milk." Marcus whispered, "An achievement." I pointed without looking. "Thank you." Then I looked back at Solène. "So if you think I crossed blood, betrayal, kidnapping, and morning sickness just to hand my baby to a room full of dusty wolves with superiority issues, then you're not ancient. You're stupid." For one beautiful second, nobody breathed. Kenneth looked proud enough to declare war in my honor. Angela's shoulders shook with silent laughter. Marcus looked like he wanted to resign and applaud at the same time. Solène did not laugh. Of course not. Women like her did not laugh unless someone else was losing power. She lifted her chin. "Then we invoke the old law." Kenneth's expression went deadly. Solène's voice carried through the chamber. "Upon the birth of an anchor child, the Royal Council reserves the right to examine the infant and determine whether the mother is fit to retain custody under Crown protection." My heartbeat slowed. Not from calm. From focus. Kenneth's eyes burned bright blue. The air bent beneath the force of him. Several council members leaned back. Finally, they looked afraid. Good. But this was exactly what they wanted. They wanted him furious. They wanted the monster. They wanted to say the human queen could not control the Alpha King, or herself. I stepped in front of him. His chest rose hard beneath my hand. "No," I said softly. His gaze snapped to mine. I looked up at him, then back at Selene. "No," I repeated. "Let them come." Angela whispered my name like a warning. But I was done being hidden from the teeth in the room. I rested both hands over my stomach. "I want them close enough to hear me when I say no." The storm began with the windows breathing. Not rattling. Breathing. The glass bowed inward, then eased back out, like Blackthorn Keep itself had lungs, and the mountain wind had slipped inside them. I woke with one hand already pressed to my stomach. For one strange second, everything was quiet. Then lightning split the sky. The room flashed silver white, and pain wrapped around my lower body so tightly I forgot my own name. I sucked in a breath. Kenneth was awake before I made a sound. Of course he was. One moment he was beside me, warm and still. The next, he was upright, eyes glowing blue in the darkness, every inch of him alert. "What is it?" he demanded. "Pain?" I would have loved to answer calmly. I would have loved to be the graceful future queen who placed one hand on her belly and said, "The child comes, my king." Instead, I gripped the sheets and hissed, "Something is trying to fold me in half." Kenneth froze. The storm slammed against the windows again. Then the baby kicked. Hard. The lamps flickered. Somewhere deep in the castle, a wolf howled. Kenneth's face changed. Not into the king. Not into the Alpha. Into a man staring down at the woman he loved and realizing he could not fight the thing hurting her. "No," he said, like the word had ever worked on biology. "It is too soon." "I'll let her know," I snapped, then gasped as another wave rolled through me. This one was worse. Lower. Deeper. My body tightened around it, and warmth spilled between my thighs. For one wild second, I thought I had humiliated myself in front of the Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Then Kenneth looked down, and whatever he saw made the blood drain from his expression in a way that did not suit him at all. "My water broke," I whispered. He did not move. "Kenneth." Still nothing. "Kenneth Blackthorn, if you faint before I do, I will haunt you." That worked. He roared for the healers so loudly the bedposts trembled. The castle answered. She collapsed. 2 guards lunged, but Marcus caught her first, muttering something extremely inappropriate under his breath. Angela's body jerked once in his arms. The air around her shimmered. Her lips parted. "Moon," she whispered. "Too full. Too much power. She's coming through the storm." Kenneth's arms tightened around me. I hated the fear that moved through him. I hated it because I felt it too. Angela blinked hard, coming back to herself. "Put her down, now. She needs to be on her left side for the next contraction." The head healer, a sharp-eyed woman with silver-threaded braids, rushed into the room with 3 assistants behind her. Kenneth set me on the bed like I was made of glass and vengeance. "I need space," the healer said. "You need to tell me what is happening," Kenneth snarled. She did not even flinch. "She is having a baby." "I am aware of that." "Then be useful, or be quiet." I liked her immediately. Kenneth did not. His eyes burned brighter. I grabbed his wrist before he could terrorize the only woman in the room who seemed to know what she was doing. "Kenneth," I panted. "If you growl at one more doctor, I'm naming this baby after Angela out of spite." Angela, now gripping the edge of my bed, lifted one finger. "I support this." There was only Kenneth, hair falling over his forehead, eyes bright with terror, jaw clenched so tight it had to hurt. "Stay with me," he said. That was when I understood. He was not afraid of blood, or magic, or storms. He was afraid the universe was going to take one more person from him, and this time, he would have to watch. I squeezed his hand. "I'm not leaving," I said through my teeth. "I still have to overthrow your entire council. A broken laugh escaped him. The healer looked between my knees, then at Angela. If your visions have anything helpful to add, now would be ideal. Angela nodded quickly, face tight with concentration. The next one is bad. Let her breathe through the beginning, then sit her up. Not before. I wanted to say something sarcastic. The next contraction stole the opportunity. Angela leaned over me. Breathe with me. I hate breathing. You love breathing. I'm reconsidering. The lies. The visions. The choices she made for me. The danger she pushed me toward because every other path led somewhere worse. She smiled, but tears stood in her eyes. I saw everything between us then. The world narrowed to pain, thunder, hands holding mine, and the impossible pressure of my daughter fighting her way into existence. I screamed. The castle shook. Kenneth said my name like a vow. Angela counted. The healer commanded. I pushed again, and something inside the mountain seemed to answer. The storm reached its loudest point. Then, a cry. Small, furious, alive. The storm stopped. Not faded. Stopped. The windows went still. The thunder vanished. The wind held its breath over Blackthorn Keep. For one impossible heartbeat, there was only that cry. Then, through stone and darkness and every ancient hall of the castle, I heard it. Hundreds of knees hitting the floor. Every wolf in Blackthorn Keep dropped to one knee. Kenneth's hand trembled in mine, and my daughter cried again. The world did not roar back after my daughter cried. It bowed. For one impossible moment, Blackthorn Keep held its breath around us. No thunder, no wind, no shouting in the hall. Just the small, furious sound of a newborn who had apparently decided the storm was being dramatic and needed to stop. Then the healer placed her on my chest. Everything inside me broke open. "Oh," I whispered. That was it. After months of fear, blood, prophecy, council threats, dead men, moon magic, and Kenneth Blackthorn trying to manage pregnancy through internet searches, the only word I had left was, "Oh." She was warm. Tiny. Furious. Mine. Her deep brown skin glistened against me, darker where the healer's cloth had not yet touched. Soft black curls clung damply to her head. Her little mouth trembled with another cry, but the second her cheek pressed to my skin, she quieted. Kenneth made a sound beside me. Not a word. Not a growl. Something ruined and reverent. I turned my head. He was on his knees beside the bed. The Alpha King of Blackthorn. The man who could make armies kneel with one look was staring at our daughter like his whole life had been leading him to this exact moment, and he had no idea how to survive it. His crown was gone. I didn't know when he had lost it. Maybe somewhere between my screaming and his soul leaving his body. Good. Crowns seemed unnecessary right then. The healer leaned closer with a soft cloth, her hands steady though her eyes were wet. She is breathing well. Of course she is, I murmured, stroking one finger along the baby's back. She just yelled at the weather and won. Angela laughed through tears on my other side. Her hand was still wrapped around mine. She had not let go. The baby shifted, making a tiny, annoyed sound, and the cloth moved away from her chest. That was when I saw it. A faint crescent-shaped birthmark rested near her heart, curved like a little moon had kissed her skin before sending her to us. Angela inhaled sharply. Kenneth's eyes lifted. The room went still again. The baby opened her eyes. Both of them. I forgot how to breathe. One was warm brown. Human. Soft. Familiar in a way that hurt. Tyrell. The other was icy blue, bright and ancient, holding the room with a power no newborn should have known how to carry. Kenneth. My chest tightened until it felt too small for my own heart. "Oh, baby," I whispered, touching her cheek. "You really came here ready to start arguments." Angela covered her mouth. The healer stared openly now. One of her assistants whispered something in an old language I did not understand, but the awe in it needed no translation. Kenneth reached toward the baby, then stopped. For a man who had never hesitated to touch weapons, enemies, or death, he looked terrified of brushing one finger against 6 pounds of newborn girl. I looked at him. "Are you asking permission?" His throat worked. "Yes." "If you drop her, I will kill you. You just gave birth." And somehow I still mean it. A broken smile touched his mouth. Carefully, impossibly gently, Kenneth placed one finger against our daughter's tiny hand. She gripped him. His entire body locked. There were moments when I'd seen Kenneth angry, violent, royal, cruel, tender, hungry, proud. I had never seen him helpless. Not until Amara wrapped her tiny fingers around his. He bowed his head over our joined bodies, and his breath trembled. The room went quiet in a different way. Kenneth did not flinch. That alone nearly undid me. He looked from me to the baby, then bowed his head again. "Then his name lives." Angela made a soft sound, half sob, half relief. I looked down at my daughter, at Tyrell's eye, at Kenneth's hand in hers, at the crescent over her heart. "Yes," I whispered. "It does." Then I heard it. At first I thought it was my own pulse, wild from birth and pain and whatever magic had just torn through the castle. But it wasn't mine. It was hers. 2 heartbeats. One quick and fluttering, the fragile rhythm of a newborn. The other slower, deeper, like a wolf pacing beneath snow. The healer's face changed as she pressed a hand lightly to Amara's back. "There are 2, she whispered. Kenneth lifted his head. Angela nodded, tears shining on her cheeks. Human and wolf. "Is that bad?" I asked immediately, because apparently motherhood came with instant terror installed. "No," Angela said. "It's her." "No," Angela said softly. "She reminded your power that it is not the oldest thing in the room anymore." I looked at her. "Please explain that in new mother language before I start screaming again." Angela wiped her face. She can touch the bond between command and obedience, between rage and calm, truth and lie, human and wolf. Her voice shook. "She is not just your child, Liorah. She is the bridge." Amara yawned. A whole ancient bridge between worlds, and she looked bored. "That's nice," I whispered to her. "Maybe tomorrow you can solve politics. Tonight we're focusing on eating and not scaring your mother." Kenneth let out a quiet laugh. I loved the sound so much it hurt. Then the doorway chilled. I knew before I looked, not because of magic. Because every happy room has a shadow waiting to remind you joy is never left unguarded for long. Elder Selene stood just beyond Marcus. Silver hair perfect, diamond choker bright against her throat, her eyes fixed on my daughter. Not with wonder, with calculation. Kenneth rose slowly. This time, when his power filled the room, it had teeth. "Leave," he said. Selene lowered her head just enough to pretend respect. But her gaze never left Amara. "The council will require formal examination," she said. My arms tightened around my daughter. Amara opened her icy blue eye wider and stared straight at Selene. I learned very quickly that giving birth did not make people leave you alone. It should have. There should have been a law somewhere that said after a woman pushed an impossible moon baby into the world during a mountain storm, everyone had to shut up for at least 6 weeks and bring her soup. Instead, I got politics. By the second day, my body felt like a battlefield someone had tried to tidy up with warm towels and herbal tea. Everything ached, my breasts hurt, my back hurt. My pride hurt because 3 healers had seen parts of me I would have preferred to keep between myself, God, and whoever invented epidurals. Amara slept against my chest, one tiny fist curled near her mouth. She looked peaceful, suspiciously peaceful. Like she had not silenced a storm, bent every wolf in the castle to one knee, and made her father's alpha power vanish for 3 seconds. Kenneth had not recovered. He stood by the window with his arms crossed, watching the mountains like they had personally offended him. He had barely slept. Every time Amara sighed, he turned. Every time she hiccuped, his eyes flashed. When a healer suggested he leave the room so I could rest, he looked at her like she had asked to borrow his spine. I was half in love with him, and half ready to smother him with a pillow. That was marriage, probably. Marcus appeared at the door just after dawn, his expression tight. Kenneth looked over immediately. "No," Marcus blinked. "I have not said anything." "You're wearing your bad news face." "That's my face?" "No, your bad news face has guilt around the eyebrows." I shifted carefully, wincing. "He's right. You do look like someone sat on a secret." Marcus exhaled. "There's movement near the eastern border. Riders reported a breach attempt near the old pass." The room changed. Kenneth straightened, and the tired man beside my bed became the king so fast it made the air sharpen. "How many?" he asked. "Unknown." The signal cut out. Angela, curled in a chair near my bed with a blanket over her own pregnant stomach, opened one eye. "That timing is disgusting." My stomach tightened. Kenneth's gaze moved to Amara, then to me. "I am not leaving." "Yes, you are." His head snapped toward me. "No." "Kenneth." "No," I sighed. "I just had a baby, not a personality transplant. If there's a threat at your border, go handle it before it becomes a threat at our door. I can send others." "You can, and if this is real, they may need you." I glanced down at Amara. "If it's not real, then someone wants you away from this room." Elder Selene stood in the hall wearing silver silk, diamonds, and the expression of a woman who had never once been denied anything she wanted. Behind her waited 4 council guards, all armed, all staring at my sleeping daughter. My blood went hot. Selene lifted a rolled parchment sealed in black wax. "By authority of ancient crown law, the anchor child is to be brought before the council for examination." I laughed. It came out wrong, sharp, tired, dangerous. "Absolutely not." Selene's gaze slid past Marcus to me. "Lady Liorah, you are recovering. Emotional resistance is expected." Angela stood slowly. "Say emotional one more time. I dare you." Selene ignored her. "This is not a request." Marcus did not move. The king gave orders. "The king is absent." "Convenient," Angela said. Selene's jaw tightened. The border emergency required his attention. Amara woke. Not gradually. Her mismatched eyes opened at once. Then she began to cry. Not the hungry cry. Not the sleepy cry. This was a sound that went through the walls. Every wolf in the hallway flinched. Selene's hand tightened around the parchment. I looked at her. She doesn't like liars. For the first time, something uncertain flickered across Selene's face. Then she stepped forward. Marcus blocked her. The parchment seal cracked. A pressure rolled into the room, ancient and cold, pressing against my ribs. Marcus's shoulders tensed. His boots scraped back an inch against the stone floor, like the law itself had hands, and was trying to move him. He snarled. I said no. Selene's smile returned. "You would defy the council?" Marcus's eyes flashed. "Apparently." The guards moved. Angela cursed, and Selene reached for my daughter. Amara screamed. The castle answered. A pulse burst out from her tiny body, silent and enormous. The torches exploded blue. The windows frosted over in branching silver patterns. The stone floor trembled beneath us. In the hall, the council guards jerked, bones shifting under skin as half-forms rippled through them and collapsed before they could finish. They dropped to their knees. So did Selene. Not gracefully. Her knees struck stone hard enough that I heard it. The parchment burst into blue flame in her hand. She cried out and released it, but the fire did not spread. It simply ate the old law down to ash and vanished. Angela's eyes went silver. Moon pulse. I did not know what that meant. I did know my daughter was crying, and these people had scared her. That was enough. I pushed myself upright. Pain tore through me so suddenly. I saw stars. The healer rushed forward. My queen, you cannot stand. Watch me. I swung my legs over the side of the bed. My body protested in about 17 languages. I ignored every single one. Angela grabbed my robe and wrapped it around my shoulders while Marcus, still breathing hard, kept himself between the guards and the bed. I lifted Amara carefully against my chest. The second she was in my arms, her cries softened into angry little hiccups. Good girl. Selene tried to rise. She couldn't. Her face twisted with humiliation. This is unnatural, she hissed. That child must be contained. Amara whimpered. Selene doubled over like the words had punched her in the stomach. Kenneth looked at the kneeling guards. You followed a false summons and entered my mate's room with weapons. One guard bowed his head to the floor. We were ordered. Not by your king. His gaze moved to Selene. Elder Selene of the Royal Council, Kenneth said. By crown, blood, and pack, I strip you of authority on Blackthorn lands. Selene trembled with rage. You cannot remove me alone. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. I was tired, bleeding, shaking, holding the most dangerous little miracle in the world. But I was still standing. He doesn't remove you alone, I said. I do. Kenneth's eyes found mine. Pride moved through them, deep and fierce. I looked back at Selene. You are banished from Blackthorn lands until the full council judges your betrayal. You will not come near my daughter. You will not speak her name in law. You will not send hands, letters, guards, prayers, or dusty little threats. Marcus muttered. Dusty little threats is going in the official record. Selene's mouth opened. Amara gave one sharp cry. Selene shut it. Smart woman. Kenneth stepped beside me then, close enough for his warmth to hold me up without making it obvious. The first guard bowed lower. I blinked down at my daughter. Did you just fact-check your auntie? Angela pressed a hand to her chest. First of all, I am not emotionally prepared to be judged by someone who cannot hold her own head up. Amara hiccuped. Kenneth, who had been standing near the crib like a royal gargoyle, said seriously, She dislikes lies. No, I said. She dislikes nonsense. There's a difference, and unfortunately she gets both from me. Kenneth did not argue. That was growth. He had changed in those weeks. Not completely. Kenneth Blackthorn was still Kenneth Blackthorn, which meant if a servant coughed too close to the nursery, he looked ready to declare martial law. But he was trying. Mostly. At night, when he thought I was sleeping, he walked the halls with Amara tucked against his bare chest, one massive hand covering nearly her entire back. He would murmur old wolf songs under his breath, low and rough, while she slept with her cheek pressed over his heart. I pretended not to melt. I failed. Once I found him standing in front of a window, moonlight silvering his dark hair, our daughter bundled against him like the smallest crown his kingdom had ever given him. You know, I said from the doorway, if you keep looking that sweet, I'm going to have to accuse you of witchcraft. He turned slowly. She would not sleep. So, naturally, you marched her through a medieval castle like a haunted bodyguard. I attempted to command her first. I stared. You what? His jaw tightened. I told her to sleep. And? Amara opened one brown eye, then the blue one, and stared at him like he had embarrassed himself. I laughed so hard my stitches threatened to file a complaint. Kenneth looked offended. It works on armies. She's 3 weeks old. She is unreasonable. She's your daughter. That shut him up. Marcus handled Amara worse than Kenneth handled human pregnancy. The first time I tried to place her in his arms, he stepped back so fast he nearly hit a suit of armor. My queen, I secure perimeters. I do not hold prophecies. She's a baby. She stared at me yesterday and cried when I said I had no secrets. Angela, lounging in the corner with a bowl of sugared fruit, pointed her spoon at him. To be fair, that was a lie. Marcus glared. You are not helping. No, but I am entertained. Eventually, Marcus held her, for exactly 12 seconds. Amara looked up at him with both eyes wide open. Marcus whispered, "This child knows things." "She knows you're afraid of diapers," I said. "I am afraid of what is inside diapers." Again, fair. Those weeks were not easy. My body healed slowly, and some mornings grief still found me before joy did. I would look at Amara's warm brown eye and think of Terrell's laugh, his hands, the way he had died protecting us when he had not always known how to love us well. Kenneth never looked away from that grief. He made room for it. That was how I knew we were becoming something real. Not perfect. Real. On the night of the crowning ceremony, Angela helped lace me into an emerald gown that made my deep brown skin glow under the candlelight. The fabric hugged my waist, then fell soft around me, forgiving the places motherhood had changed and honoring the places it had made stronger. Angela stepped back and blinked too much. "No," I warned. "Do not cry. If you cry, I'll cry. And if I cry, Kenneth will think someone attacked me." Angela sniffed. "You look like a queen." "I look like someone who has not slept since the storm." Both can be true. Kenneth waited outside the chamber. When I stepped into the hall holding Amara, his face went still. Not cold. Not guarded. Stunned. His black royal suit was cut sharp over his broad shoulders, silver crown resting over dark hair, icy eyes fixed on me like the entire castle had disappeared. "Well?" I asked. "Do I pass inspection?" His voice was quiet. "You were never meant to be inspected." My throat tightened. He stepped closer and brushed his knuckles against Amara's curls. "You were meant to be seen." Outside Blackthorn Keep, the packs had gathered beneath the full moon. Wolves filled the courtyard and the mountain slope beyond it. Nobles, guards, servants, healers, children. Humans stood among them too. Kitchen staff, drivers, security. People who once kept their eyes low around wolf power. Tonight, no one hid them. Tonight, I did not hide either. Kenneth led me to the raised stone platform. The wind tugged at my gown. Amara slept in my arms, wrapped in black and emerald cloth, her crescent birthmark hidden beneath the blanket. The crowd went silent. Kenneth turned to face them. "For generations," he said, voice carrying through the courtyard, "blackthorn crowns were placed upon strength measured by blood, claw, and command." His hand found mine. "But my kingdom did not survive because of command." Then he did something no one expected. Kenneth Blackthorn knelt, in front of everyone. A sound moved through the packs. Shock, awe, disbelief. My own breath caught. The Alpha King bowed his head before me. "You were never my weakness," he said, looking up at me. "You are the reason my kingdom still stands." The courtyard blurred for a second. I blamed hormones. And love. Mostly love. Kenneth rose, lifted the crown made for me, silver, black diamonds, and a single moonstone at the center, and placed it on my head. It was heavier than I expected. So was being loved correctly. I turned toward the crowd with Amara in my arms. "This is Amara Tyrell Blackthorn," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "My daughter. Kenneth's daughter." Tyrell's name carried forward. "The anchor child." Amara opened her eyes. Her blue eye glowed. Her brown eye filled with tears. Then the world softened. For one heartbeat, I felt them. Humans beyond the mountains. City streets, apartment windows, hospital rooms, police stations. Fear. Hope. Ordinary hearts beating in ordinary bodies. Around me the wolves inhaled sharply. The human servants did too. For one brief second both worlds touched without violence. No one forced them to kneel. They chose it. The packs lowered themselves before us, not in terror, in recognition. I looked at Kenneth. He looked completely undone. "Okay, Alpha King," I whispered. "I guess we're doing this." His smile was small and devastating. "Together?" I shifted Amara carefully against my chest. Together, I said. But if this castle runs out of oat milk again, I'm starting a rebellion. Kenneth laughed. The sound rolled warm beneath the moon. Later we stood on the balcony, me, Kenneth, Angela, and Amara wrapped between us. The castle below was quiet, peaceful for once. For the first time, Blackthorn Keep did not feel like a cage. It felt like home. Far away in the human world, Detective Russo woke up gasping from a dream with my daughter's name on his lips. And in the nursery as Amara slept, the crescent birthmark near her heart began to glow.
Lately I've been thinking about the way you smile, how it stays with me for miles and miles. Every little thing you do feels so right, like a dream I don't wanna lose tonight. I don't need a reason, I don't need a sign. Something about you just feels like mine. Every road I take leads back to you, like my heart already knew. Maybe it's the way you say my name so slow, or the way you feel it start to show. I was lost before you came around. Now you're all I found. I don't wanna fight it, don't wanna pretend. This is more than just a passing trend. Every step I take, I'm pulled your way. There's nothing left to say. I got my eyes on you.